The following is meant for entertainment and educational purposes. It is not meant to establish a doctor-patient relationship. Please consult your mental health provider for your mental health needs. Hello, welcome to Shea Arik, my home, where we talk about psychiatry and religion with a focus on how to apply it to your life. I am Dr. Eric. I'm a psychiatrist who happens to be religious, and I'm trying to create this space to talk about these things about psychiatry and religion and how it can help you and all this stuff. And in particular, this is the William James series. It will be lecture 8 on the varieties of religious experience. And lecture 8 is a fun one, a short one though, a short one. It is called The Divided Self and the Process of Its Unification. And it's going to be only one part. It's not as long as the other ones. It really should be called Prelude or Preview of Conversion, because that's what he's really getting at. But I'll get into it here. So what is the divided self and the process of its unification? Why is it important? Well, if you remember, starting from the beginning, we're talking about religious experience, and in particular, we are talking about the healthy-minded and then the sick-souled people, and that there are two different ways of understanding the religious experience, and they're two very diametrically opposed ways of understanding the religious experience. And just as a recap, in case you forgot, the once born people are the healthy-minded people, and then the twice-born people are the sick-souled people. And what does that mean? The once-born people have life pretty simply. They understand the world very simply. Good things happen, and then if anything bad happens, they'll just ignore it. Versus the twice-born, the sick-souled people, they can't ignore bad things. Ultimately, death will come, and that is a bad thing. And therefore, they're going to have more internal conflict as a result. And with this internal conflict, it's the main conflict for William James between the natural world and the spiritual world. And he kind of highlights that this conflict exists. He uses the example of St. Augustine and uses a quote from her. And, she mentions that I have two wills. I feel like I have two wills. One will is an old one, and the other will is a new one. One will is a carnal will, the other one is a spiritual will. And how does she bring them both together? And this internal conflict it should be, I feel, a universal experience, that we have internal conflicts on how we should do what we do or why we do what we do. William James separates it between the physical world and the spiritual world, but I have talked about this before in the channel, about the 5 parts of a person and how you can have internal conflicts between all of these 5 parts. And they're the biological, the psychological, the emotional, the existential, and the spiritual. And I try to understand people and things and situations based on these 5 parts of understanding the person. And so how does all of this become unified, and how does all of this come together? Well, he actually kind of goes into depth with that a little bit more in the conversion process in the next 2 lectures 9 and 10. But for here, we do want to recognize that the divided self is a thing that needs to be addressed. And we do want to recognize that it is a challenge to address it. But what happens when we do become unified, when the parts of ourselves become unified? Well, we have an inner peace with ourselves. The conflict is over. We gain sort of unity in action, and we know what to do. This can happen sort of in a gradual way, where you spend many, many years processing these conflicts and understanding them. It can be very, very rapid. Just out of nowhere, you have this great sort of religious experience that causes the unification of, for James, the natural world, the physical world, and then the spiritual self. And it creates some form of relief when you go from a state of conflict to a state of unification, and that he says it can transform the most tolerable misery into the profoundest and most enduring happiness. So there is, in fact, this transformation process that exists when you go from a divided sense of self to a great sort of unification of you as a person. And what he's found is that this unification process, it actually doesn't need to be religious in nature. It can be very much, non-religious in nature, because you can have different conflicts in other spaces as well. And he gives examples of Bunyan and Tolstoy. You can look that up in his lectures. His stuff is free online in PDFs and whatnot. And ultimately, though, he says that the conversion process is specifically a transformation in the religious context. And that's where he wants to really focus his efforts in the next lectures or so. So that's what it's really all about. Now, you tell me, have you had conflicts in yourself? Have you had internal conflicts and religious conflicts of that nature? And if you've had those conflicts, how did you resolve it? How did you sort of become one with the conflict? How did they kind of resolve itself? How did they become one thing? Everyone has this process, and we'll be talking about this conversion process moving forward. So if you think about it for yourself and for about a week or so, and then think about it and reflect on it, and then maybe you'll find that the next couple of lectures will echo what you've experienced, or maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? So I hope you enjoyed that. Pretty short, and then we'll go into the more exciting stuff on conversion next time. I'll see you later. Bye. Hey, how's it going? Check out my new website. It's available now. You can learn more about me. You can also check out some things I'll be offering in the future, webinars, books, and whatnot. It's a fancy website with a lot of moving parts, designed by someone who's very, very talented. So check it out when you get a chance. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.